Hi everyone, West Coast Muscle Saws. Another live video here. I got a few questions to go over, and we'll also try to give away this Stihl chainsaw. Let me get a picture up here. Quentin is donating this. It's not mine, it's Quentin's. He's a collector. These are kind of a highly sought after saw, and he's going to donate it. We'll go over the rules here after the little short program we have today. And I got to go through some questions for some of the guys, and then we'll tell you how you can win this chainsaw. You will have to pay the shipping on it. On Quentin and I estimate that to be $100, $125, something like that. We're not real sure. But anyway, let me get to the questions here. First one I got here is Mark. He was curious about a screwdriver for adjusting chainsaws. This is one I've used for probably 35 years. Let me get you a close up, see if you can see the numbers. They're going to be not very good there. Let me see here if I can see them. SSDE48C. That's snap-on. That is a snap-on screwdriver. You can see how nice for reaching in. Different saws. Be aware. Don't stick in your back pocket and poke things and do different things with it. But anyway, very handy one there. And let's see what else we got here. I got a customer who's having an issue with his 028 Stihl, the choke mechanism. They got a little spraying apparatus in there. Those things are prone to just causing issues and getting misaligned. What you're going to have to do on that is you're going to have to replace that spring, get a hold of a IPL number, you replace that spring, and then you can do some minute adjustments on it. You got to be careful, it's very delicate. But they're very, very delicate when it comes to pushing that choke on, so just be aware of that. Super Pro 81. I got a customer that's got a Super Pro, he's got a Super Pro 81 chainsaw. This is the same as the Mac 1010 series. We're talking about the clutch issue. It's binding up. It'll fire up and run. The chain continually turns, telling us that we've got an issue, excuse me, with the clutch bearing, with the clutch, rotor, spring. Something's going on there. Some of those are on a taper fit, most of them are. Some are keyed, but they're still on a taper fit and keyed. And let me show you here. Super Pro 81 clutch, left-handed thread. You get that nut off. The safest way without doing any major damage to this is to use a puller like this and wrap it around the clutch drum, center it up there, take up some slack on it, gently, and we're not talking 5-pound sledges here, gently bump it with either a rubber mallet or a small hammer, but don't just wail away on it. You'll be surprised, it'll just pop right off. Had some questions on the TIG welding. I used to do TIG welded since the 70s, before TIG welders were really up to the state of the art they are now. We actually used, the guy that trained me was an aircraft maintenance guy back in the war. And anyway, his job was they'd fly him in and they would repair the aircraft and do some welding. They actually welded with gas oxyacetylene torches. It was difficult. He was a master of it, and we actually welded. He taught me how to use the gas oxyacetylene torches with the flux, with the welding rod, and we actually did the, believe it or not, magnesium, which is highly flames up and you can't put it out. And with a lot of practice, we were able to do that. And that was in the mid-70s. We graduated up to a high-frequency stabilizer that we plugged into our welder, and it was a kind of like a TIG welder. I mean, it wasn't the real full-blown deal. And we used that for years with great success. And then along, we could afford to get the real deal, the TIG welders, water-cooled and state-of-the-art. And one of the questions I get is how do you know if it's aluminum or magnesium on these chainsaws, and they use both on the chainsaw. You'll run into both. Mostly the magnesium will be on the outer pieces. The crankcases most generally are magnesium, and these cylinders will be aluminum. Stihl has just come out with some magnesium pistons for heat and every different things. There's all kinds of things out there. Of course, you're not going to be welding on pistons. I did one time for a guy. It was a success. I wouldn't recommend it. It's the only one I ever did. He was desperate to get this one saw going, and it had an issue with a hole in the piston. I welded it. It worked. It ran. It worked beautiful. I wouldn't do it again. It took a lot of work. We'll go over that someday. Anyway, to find out what you got, is I take a razor knife, and don't do this at home. All these videos are for entertainment. They're not for do this in your backyard and burn down your house and do all kinds of things. So, anyway, what you do is you scrape some of that material you're going to be welding. You're going to clean it real well. You're going to scrape it. Get you some shavings, and then you're going to light those shavings out in the fire department. Get right to you. And you see the sparks coming off of that? See the little sparks? Aluminum will not give sparks off, only magnesium. Magnesium is what is used in fireworks, stuff like that. And so that'll tell you what you got. Then you need to clean aluminum or magnesium, whatever you're doing, clean it real good. I used to even bake it to bake off the pitch and whatnot, scrape it, and baking soda blaster works pretty good. Don't use the glass machine with the glass in it. That just contaminates it more. You can use a stainless steel brush or stainless steel wire brush on a drum. Clean it real good. Catch a little notch in it. As far as welding rod, I've had 100 questions about which welding rod. I go to air gas. I didn't ask any questions. I just said I need some magnesium rod, whatever thickness I wanted, or I need aluminum rod, whatever thickness. It'd come in 2.5 foot chunks or whatever, real thin, way smaller than a pencil, real small diameter. And then fire up your torch, and you're going to have to play with it. Argon. I had a one of those huge bottles. I did a lot of welding. And practice. That's all I can say is you just need to do some practice, get you some old busted pieces. I welded almost every component you can imagine on a chainsaw with a TIG welder and had great success. When you can't find a clutch cover for a certain vintage saw, there's your answer. Sorry, there we go. Let's get another one in here. I see this here. Oh yeah, okay. Go over this quite a bit, get a lot of questions on that. That is installing and removing bearings from a crankcase on all the pro saws. Now this, I mostly talk about pro saws, that's what I dealt with. You can do this on the consumer saws, but the pro saws. To get those bearings out of the crankcase, of course you're going to strip everything down, you're going to get the screws all out. You do need to heat that crankcase up to 230 centigrade using a heat sensor gun, and you really should use a really commercial grade heat gun. It looks like your wife's hair dryer on steroids is what it looks like. I mean, this thing gets hot. You don't want to put your hand or hair around it; it'll melt it. And you set up on a bench. I had mine set up on a bench. I built me a custom holder so I could walk away from it. I have the hair dryer, or not the hair dryer, but the heat gun, looks like a hair dryer, mounted there, and I'd have the crankcase where I wanted it, and I would keep monitoring the heat till I hit that magic number, and it'll separate, and then you may have to reheat it a little bit more and just bump it with a rubber mallet. We're not using sledgehammers anymore. Bump the case, just gently bump, that bearing will fall out. What you've done is expand that magnesium, most of them are, and the steel didn't heat up quite as quick, and the bearing will fall out. Now going in reverse to put back in, I had me a little compact refrigerator you can pick up for 40 bucks, one of those cheapy ones, right by my bench. Heat the crankcase, one of them, not both of them, heat that up to 230 centigrade while the bearing is in your freezer. And while it's in your freezer, get ready and heat that. Hit your magic number, and then grab the bearing and just slide it in that crankcase. You're done. And for the guys that don't believe in this and don't do it, you've just ruined your professional or your vintage or your collectible chainsaw. You cannot drive bearings in or use presses and stuff like that. That's not the way they're designed. It will, yes, it will run. For how long, we don't know. Okay, a couple more questions here and then we'll give away that chainsaw. I had one guy ask me this question about a 257 wrap handlebar. They're just not available anymore. They were for a while. I used to build them, then again with a TIG welder, and what I would do is take two handlebars. Of course, they're hard to find now, you know that, half wraps. You could take the one half wrap, put it on the saw, of course, and then take the other half wrap and you lay it up there against there, and you would cut the handlebar at a little bit of an angle, line it up, strip back the coating, take it all apart, put it on your bench and TIG weld it, and you'd have a fabulous wrap handlebar. Real easy to do if you've got the equipment. And then one more question here on a 66 Yugoslavia Husqvarna chainsaw. Those are the bigger ones, 4 cubes, great saw. Well, only made for 1 year, I believe. I had one, great saw. Question was again about how long can we run that bar. It's all based on how you set it up. You can put a 32, I actually run a 36 on mine, and guys say we can't do that. Here where we're at, we run a 16-inch bar. Well, I ran mine, did a beautiful job, but you got to know how to run the saw. You've got to have a skip tooth chain, and you can also do this with 325 pitch if you have the ability to do it. You just change the bar tip, drive sprocket. There is a skip 325 chain out there. It just cuts like butter when you get this rigged up right. So yeah, you can run longer bars. Just the combination, you don't want to run a full comp. Let's see about that saw acquaintance now. Just a minute here. He's going to give that saw away. That's very nice. I want to thank you for that, Quentin. And he's a great saw collector. He got beautiful McCulloch chainsaws. Got that 101B, beautiful saw. What we're going to do is I'm going to hold up my cell number here. 5th caller. I'm going to pick up that phone after I hang up 4 times. And the 5th caller, we'll see if this works live. If everything works, we'll do this. I've never done it before. And I'll get that guy on the line and we'll hook him up with Quentin, and he'll get that beautiful saw. Right there. Okay, guys. 541-680-3732. 541-680-3732.
Unknown caller.
Okay, there's one. There's 2.
Unknown caller.
Okay, we're waiting here. Hope we didn't jam up the lines.
Unknown caller.
There's 3. There's 4.
Unknown caller.
Okay, this is it.
Unknown caller.
Hey, this is Rich. Hey! Oh, it's Bill. Bill, how you doing here in Philadelphia? I'm good. You just got this saw right here, bud. Oh, I love it. Okay, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to keep Bill on the phone, and that was a lot of fun, and we'll try to do that again. let me get out of here. All right. In just a second, Bill, you hang tight here.